to us, Christabel?
Well, the Ghana Meteorological Agency has issued a weather alert warning of thunderstorms and varying intensities of rain across parts of the country later today. Well, according to the forecast, southern Ghana will experience mostly cloudy conditions with intermittent sunny spells in the afternoon, while the northern regions will remain predominantly sunny. However, from late afternoon into the evening, thunderstorms and rain are expected to hit parts of the coastal, mid-belt, transition zones, and northern sectors. This alert follows devastating weekend floods that claimed lives and destroyed property in parts of Accra.
And let's go on to the telephone now. And Joshua Ansah is a meteorologist, a senior meteorologist. Joshua Asamoah is a senior meteorologist at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Mr. Asamoah, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred. Thanks for having me.
First of all, let's establish this. How many millimeters of rain did we experience on Sunday, that 5-hour rain that's caused this havoc as we speak?
Well, it was quite varying. Around the airport, we had about 32 millimeters. That's Kotoka International Airport, our station there, recorded around 32 millimeters. But if you move away from there, it was a bit higher. Had close to about 89 millimeters in other parts of Accra. So the lowest we saw was around 30, and then the highest was close to 90 millimeters. So between 30 and 90 millimeters of rainfall for Greater Accra region.
Between 30 and 90 millimeters of rain?
Yes, 30 and 90. Yeah.
I see. And what's the forecast like for, going into the peak of the rainy season? Because I understand the peak starts from next month, the month of June, correct?
Yes, so this is basically a transition into the peak. So we are basically in the period of the peak rainfall for southern Ghana. So rains are a bit more frequent around this time, and then in the month of June as well. July, then they will start subsiding, and then we'll go into the little dry season for the minor rainy season.
And if we are not in the peak of the rainy season and we are experiencing 90 millimeters of rain, how would the peak of the rainy season look like?
Well, so the peak is used to describe when the rains become actually more frequent. And so it's not really about the amount. Even during the onset of the rainy season, somewhere in March, we get very heavy rainfall. Amounts can be very high around that time, but then the occurrence is a bit less. But in the peak of the rainy season, you get more rainfall, as in rainy day, compared to when you are at the onset of the rainy season. But the amount does not really matter whether you are in the peak or the onset. It can be higher even in the onset than the peak of the rainy season.
I see. And we're getting information that based on the latest forecast you put out there, there's a weather alert, a weather warning alert of thunderstorm activity with varying intensity of rain across parts of the country later today. Give us a bit more detail.
Yes, as we speak, it's raining in the eastern border of Ghana. So from the northern region stretching all the way to the Volta region, there's a storm that has already engulfed this area, producing varying intensity of rain. It has some thunder, lightning as well, and occasionally some gusty conditions are expected within these areas. So if you are within the northern region, Oti region, that's around Nkwanta, Kitikrachi, going into Yezi, Salaga, Tatale. Then if you move slightly south, Popoi areas towards Ho areas, there should be experiencing rain. If you're not already experiencing rain in this region, you should at least see signs of rain close to you. So that's where the storm is. A separate one is also developing around the Upper East region, so Boko areas going into Bolga, and then stretching into the Upper West region. They're also seeing similar conditions there. Thunder strikes are already there, and some areas already experiencing the rain. We are expecting that tonight these conditions should drift to the western part and affect areas around Savannah, the Ashanti, Eastern region, Upper West, and then the rest of the northern sector that have not yet experienced these conditions. So for most places in the middle belt of Ghana and the northern portions of Ghana, we should experience some moderate to heavy rainfall with occasional gusty winds. For us along the coast, the inland parts of the coast have the highest probability of getting some rainfall, but very close to the coastline, there's a chance of rain, but then the chance is a bit lower, and the impact that the rain will have on us is also a bit lower. So within the Greater Accra, Central, and Western regions, we expect that the inland parts should be getting the moderate to heavy rainfall, whilst the extreme coastal parts get slight to moderate rainfall.
I see. And so what would be your advice, some precautionary measure for the general public listening to us right now, going into this evening and the rest of the week?
For people who live within the Volta, Eastern, Ashanti, Uti regions going into the northern portion, the magnitude of the rain that we are anticipating this evening is a bit high. And so for people in these areas, if you want to take some precautionary measures, if you live in a low-lying area, an area that is known for flood, you want to look for alternatives, probably an area where you could be safe and stay for the time when the event is occurring. Then after that, you probably return to your area, just as a safety precaution. It does not mean that everyone is going to flood, though, because the conditions in these areas are not like what we see in Accra. But for people who live in Accra, even though we are not expecting so much heavy rainfall to be experienced in the greater Accra region, because we've seen some rainfall in the past few days, just some little amount of rainfall can also lead to some higher impact. And so if you see signs of rainfall, it's best that you stay where you are, get a shelter, stay in a steady structure, wait for the event to occur, see before you step out and go to where you want to go. And you shouldn't be rushing to go home and be walking through flooded waters, because we probably may find ourselves in a problem that we have not anticipated for. So basically, that's what we are anticipating for most places in the country.
Joshua, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much. Joshua Asamoah is a senior meteorologist at the Ghana Meteorological Agency, giving us updates in there. So that's information. If you're listening to us right now from the Ghana Meteorological Agency, they've issued a weather warning of thunderstorm and varying intensities of rain across parts of the country going into the evening. And already some areas have started experiencing rainfall as we speak. We'll shift into the decongestion exercise by the Ghana Accra Metropolitan Assembly, which started earlier today. What's going on?
Well, the exercise, according to the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, is aimed at removing street traders from the central business district. Pavement structures and petty traders obstructing pedestrian access and traffic flow have been cleared, allowing for easier movement through the market areas for the first time in years. The mayor has indicated that the exercise will last for approximately 2 weeks, with people deployed to maintain order and ensure the sustainability of this renewed effort. Let's hear from the mayor of Accra, Michael Bapo Aluti.
For the first time, I'm bringing young men and women. I'm giving them employment. I'm going to run a 24-hour. So we are not sleeping. We are working every day. People who work in the night, they don't have people to take tickets from them, to guide them. They are petty thieves. But this task force and these revenue collectors will be here. If maybe 6 hours, they're going to run shifts. Like how is it going to run a 24-hour economy?
So for how long is this going to take today? Where are we going to?
For me, we are going to Sarfo.
Okay.
From Sarfo, we'll go to Kandishi. Okay. This is 2 weeks program.
Well, some of the traders have been speaking to Sarfo Boahene.
What you announced here? What?
I would like to interact with this man.
T-shirts.
Now, I don't want to say me on the say and then be exercise we are.
Okay, you know, time what about it? If you know about it, started.
And now, when we say me on exercise, this is not the first time. Say, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, fine, pa. Feeling you good, pa.
What you may on air so.
Me force bebre. Now we see for now free on cocoa board bar. Unya kwa kura na wetia because my say do my chekwan mu mienu and my farm. And you see our bar we see for so who say that why neat.
Why you near man?
Yeah, dear.
Now so come on. Who come on no so dey back when.
Yeah, can be near the page.
How is the feeling today that you have met the mayor and the task force embarking on this exercise?
We are very interested. He's working well. We like somebody like this in this country. We need to encourage those people in the street where they are selling. They need to give the way so that the country will be successful, everything will be made nicely. Because, in fact, the mess is too much.
Saying a feeling next year.
Oh, Patrick, you're good, Emma, at a 4, empty me by and chamber to ID.
The first, no, I said your heart and uncle phone to me, right?
Dabi. Excellent traffic is see. I must see Quan in your my baby. Ever has a
commission about a man or Pamoma in Baby on Beko. And Taban provided baby now on for Monco as a
So some of the traders in there, and already this exercise is getting some support as well, and then others raising concern about it. But then again, here's what we do know: the president of the Greater Accra Market Association, Gama, Messina Afroa Nijan, has declared strong support for the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's ongoing decongestion campaign in the Central Business District, describing it as, quote, a good agenda that deserves collective backing from traders. Well, this is not the first time we've been on this path of decongesting the Central Business District. In fact, we've chronicled all mayors in time past who have tried to do this. And the man with our research desk here at Media General, Wisdom Sarfo, is with all the data. Wisdom, how's it been over the period?
Okay, so Alfred, every government since the Fourth Republic have undertaken some of these decongestion exercise. It dates back to 1991 when Jerry John Rawlings, the late president, started this exercise, and it was actually targeted at the people of Agbogbloshie at that time. You know, Alfred, I call this Central Business District the Wall Street of Ghana. You know, it is home to about 60,000 traders, and some of the hawkers actually is estimated around 15,000. That forms about around 25% of the people that trade in these areas, and most of them have dependents. So there has been concerns raised about alternative places or alternative livelihoods for these people, because that's where they draw their livelihood from. And so let's go back to the chronology. So as I rightly mentioned, Jerry John Rawlings started in 1991 up to 1993, targeted at Agbogbloshie, and the people that were involved, affected people, were the yam market traders way back then. So the reason why it was done was purposely for easing pressure on the public walkways and to improve hygiene as well. And fast forward, February 2005, President Kufuor also with the help of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, also targeted the Makola and the Osu Oxford Street and Tudu. And actually, the people who were involved in this was the informal street vendors. And the major reason why this was conducted by Kufuor then was to clear clutters from footpaths and roads, and to bring sanity to the capital. 2007, we experienced another decongestion exercise under Mayor Ni Okan. Yes. So he also targeted the Central Business District and some informal markets. He actually targeted the hawkers, and he actually relocated them to the Odona market. But the major reason for the 2007 decongestion exercise was to beautify the city, actually ahead of the Ghana at 50. At that time, remember, we were celebrating our 50 years of independence, and that was the major reason why this decongestion exercise was implemented then. So it goes on and on.
The late Jacob Lamte was in charge of that.
Yes, you remember. Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah,
beautification of the capital. Anyway,
so it goes on and on. June to July 2009. Pre-Obama visits. So before President Barack Obama of the USA visited Ghana in 2009, there was a beautification exercise. So that one, they targeted the Sprinters Road, Osu Oxford Street, the Circle, Rollins Park, and some street vendors, including some stores, were also touched. They burned some stores just to beautify the city for the welcoming of President Obama. We fast forward December 2009 to April 2010. Remember Mayor Van Der Poy under the NDC, he also targeted the Tudu, Makola, Rollins Park. So the list goes on and on. It's a lot. So in all, I can count about 10 10 decongestion exercise. The latest one was in 2022. Before this one, the one that's just happened today, today, the latest one was in July 2022 under Mayor Elizabeth Saki of the NPP, who actually had a 31st Makola Street market share development project, and he actually displayed some of the hawkers, and the major reason why she undertook this decongestion exercise was to provide permanent stores and ease congestion with infrastructure. Well, it was non-punitive like the others, but there has been concerns raised about reasons why we keep going back to this. It seems like if you do it, by 2 or 3 years, they will come back, and we have to decongest them again. So some of the reasons, the research desk actually delved deeper into some of the reasons why this has continued and becoming a perennial problem. So the first thing we noted was that there was no relocation infrastructure alternative market for these people. As I said already, these people actually, their life depends on whatever they do there. And if you sack them, or if you try to decongest them from the central business district, you have to also find alternative markets for these people. And one thing that we noted was that we've realized that before elections, they don't do any decongestion exercise. They normally do it maybe at the first term or the second term, because they fear that, maybe they'll lose votes. They will wait. After they win elections, then they start the decongestion exercise. So, Alfred, it's multifaceted. There are a lot of work that needs to be put in so that we find a long-term contingency solution for all this.
It's a very important point to make, and I was appreciative for this. And let's stay a bit further on the sustainability question that you ask, and get some extensive background to this in spatial planning. Dr. Josiah Cobbah. Dr. Josiah Cobbah is also a private legal practitioner, and he has extensive knowledge in spatial planning. He's joining us on the telephone right now. Dr. Josiah Cobbah, good evening.
Good evening.
Now, first off, I mean, you've monitored how this decongestion, the latest of a number of them as Wisdom has run through it, is happening as of this morning, till this moment as we're speaking. How does all of this strike you? Is it one that has taken the kind of approach that guarantees sustainability in terms of the results that the traders themselves are commending, that now they have a place to walk and to get customers to approach their businesses?
Mr. Ocansey, I caught the last part of the submission from the earlier contributor, the speaker. And I think what I heard was that this is not the first time.
Indeed.
We've seen successive city governments trying to do relocation and decongestion, over the years. And interestingly, this morning when I heard the mayor talk about what they're trying to do, he kept saying that this is not going to be a 9-day wonder. And it's interesting because it shows that we have a sense that we don't have our thumb on the, we don't have a finger on what really we need to do to deal with this issue. My own opinion, my bent on this is just that to begin with, we have to recognize that urban informal workers are part of the economic, social, and cultural ecosystem of the city. In a place like Ghana, really, the last time I checked, in Accra, some statistics here, 83% of workers in Accra are in the informal sector. Greater Accra, 87% of women working in Accra and Greater Accra are in the informal sector, at 79% from them. As I said, 83% of the total employment in Greater Accra is in the informal sector. You know, in Accra, we are looking at, in this is about back in 2019, we had about a total of 1,312,378 people working in the informal sector. So this is, you know, I have an interest in the informal sector. I did my PhD dissertation on the informal sector in Accra. So we really need to pay attention to some fundamentals before we deal with solutions. So we have to recognize, first of all, the informal sector is part of the ecosystem.
Right, and I asked a question about the sustainability of this entire exercise, because we've seen this done before. So what has been to be done differently this time around?
Because I think that this will be sustainable depending on what we do with them. You can just drive them away, but they will come back. So you need to provide an accessible source of income for them. We have to make sure that they can continue to be economically active. You know, just driving them away will not solve the problem. So in other parts of the world, we have solutions like night markets. Selecting, for example, the night market solution like taking some enclaves within the city center and making them a pedestrian-only area where hawkers and traders can freely trade. You can have areas that are, have regulated flea markets. So we need to come up with innovative ways to make sure that they will remain economically active.
Right.
Is the solution. Now, by just decongesting, bringing the law enforcement people and driving them away, they will be back.
Certainly.
If we don't do that.
But absolutely.
Now, one of the things that I want to point out is that these solutions that I'm talking about are only sustainable if you involve them in the planning process. In other, there are organizations, you know, like in Monrovia, you need to organize them, register them, let them have a voice. The city budget should have a budget line
for them.
On dealing with these solutions.
Right.
Otherwise, we are just, it will be a 9-day wonder.
Right.
I know.
And it's a very, very important point you make, and about what has to be done going forward. Ms. Akra, I appreciate you for your I thank you so much for your thoughts on this one, sharing your thoughts with us about what the way forward will be, and then also the recommendations that he has made as well in that regard to ensure this doesn't happen again. Dr. Josiah Cobbah there. He's a spatial planner and a private legal practitioner. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W93.